welcome to my channel. Tools, tips, and tales. Tools to transform, tips to empower, and tales to inspire. I'm Kim Saft, licensed clinical social worker. I have my doctorate in transpersonal psychology. I've been in private practice for over 20 years, and this is me helping you transform your life. Bam! All right, so we were talking about pit and lids, right? Pit, anything I don't like about myself, any history of abuse, trauma, neglect, things I don't want to deal with, don't think I can deal with, shove them down into my pit. And the way I keep them down there is I put a lid on it, right? And the lids are ways I avoid, escape, deny, check out from what I think about myself in my pit, right? Lids can be any number of things, drugs and alcohol. I could get high. I could drink a case and forget everything. I could overeat. I could restrict my food. I might binge on Netflix. I might drink some more wine and double down with Facebook, right? It can also be people-pleasing, conflict avoidant, right? The ways I show up to other people. I might people-please you, try and keep everybody happy, avoid conflict, not speak my truth. And I might do that to avoid you knowing that I'm not good enough, that I'm abandonable, that I'm not lovable. Things that would live in my pit, I don't want you to know, so I'm going to cover them up, and I'm just going to keep you happy, try and avoid conflict, just people please, and then you'll never know that I'm not enough, or I'm too much, or whatever else lives in my pit. Is that making sense? I want you to unpack this a little bit more. So what we're doing right now is we're just trying to raise your awareness to what lives in your pit and what you use as lids to cover that stuff up, right? And the way we do all this is we start getting curious, an air of curiosity. That's a huge tool, an air of curiosity. And I just start getting curious about what's going on in my inner world that drives my train. Right? I want to figure out what's going on, why I'm doing what I'm doing, so I can show up compassionately and understand, make sense of it, and figure out what I want to do moving forward. Right? All right, so when we start thinking about our lids, we usually have an intended purpose as to why we're doing what we're doing. And then when we look at it and we unpack it, we find out that there's actually a different reason we're doing what we're doing and a different result from doing what we're doing, right? So I'll tell you about a client I have. She tends to use Instagram and Facebook and wine as her lids. And when we unpacked it, originally she was using Instagram and Facebook to connect with friends. She was having some wine at the end of the day. She was relaxing. So to her, it was relaxation and connection with friends as to why, the function of the behavior, why she did Instagram, Facebook, and wine at night. And what lived in her pit was a lot of trauma from being compared to her siblings when she was a child. So she was youngest one, and she had older siblings, and so they were always better at things, smarter at things, doing more things, having more success. And the stories she made up about herself coming out of that family origin was, I'm not good enough, I'm not smart, I'm stupid, I'm ugly, I'm not successful, I'm never going to amount to anything, I'm not as good as everybody else. Right? So that was the gunk that was living in her pit from her family origin, just being compared, feeling not as good as her siblings who are all older. Yeah. So when she's on Instagram and Facebook and all the social media, she thought she was connecting and socializing. And in reality, when we unpacked the actual impact it had on her, she was feeling worse about herself. She was comparing herself to all the other people on the social media, and she wasn't feeling as good. She was feeling stupid, ugly, not as successful, not having as much of a good time as everybody else in these perfect pictures. And so she was continuing to compare herself to others, just like she did in her family origin, and it had the same result. Just what her fear and insecure side was already trying to convince her that lived in her pit. not good enough, not successful, not pretty. All that was coming out again and again and again every night when she's looking at Facebook, on Instagram, and drinking her wine. Is that making sense? So a lot of times the lids, what we're trying to avoid in our pit, they actually just exacerbate. They intensify those yucky feelings we were already having in our pit. Oh, that's our fear and insecure side. Remember, our fear and insecure side is trying to keep us small, trying to keep us safe by doing what we've always done, get what we've always got. It's comfortably uncomfortable. Stay here. That's what our fear and insecure side says. And that's why they've had us doing our lids and living in our pit and feeling yucky. But not no more, because what are we doing here? We're transforming. Transforming our relationship to ourselves. We're showing up differently than we've done before. Yeah. And this is the first bunch of steps. Raising our awareness to what's actually going on in here. What actually happens when I use those lids versus what I intended to happen. Yeah. And how we're going to get all this data? That witness perspective and that air of curiosity. Yeah. We're really on this quest to understand our own inner world and get ourselves to a place where we're relating to ourselves with love and compassion and acceptance and trust. That there's good stuff. All right, so reflect. The tool is to reflect on your pit and your lids and the intended purpose and then the actual result. Judgment free. Enjoy. See you next time.